All right, it's good to have Luke Edwards with us today at Backstage Productions. Luke, I know a lot of folks probably already know who you are, but Luke Edwards plays in a band called the Grassabilies. So, Luke, good to have you with us today. All right, next album up, and this is, I'd probably say, my second favorite artist, and that is Peter Frampton.
Frampton's guitar playing, man, just the scales he tends to play in on, when he does his solos and stuff. I just think he's another one that I can kind of tell who it is. You don't have to see him to know who it is playing. Right, and that is hands down to me. That is one of the best live albums ever recorded. I mean, as far as Frampton goes, I would say there are a lot of bands that I would rather listen to their studio stuff than their live stuff. But Frampton's the exact opposite for me. I would way rather listen to Comes Live than his studio stuff. I just think that they got it on that album. They just nailed it. And a couple of dealings with Peter Frampton. The first time I ever dealt with Peter Frampton, I didn't even tell you this part of the story, was when I was working at Lip Service. I used to work for a rock and roll clothing company out in Los Angeles called Lip Service. I started off in shipping, then I was in sales, then I ended up, before I left, when the band got signed, I was a distribution manager for Lip Service. So I would have to deal with a lot of bands that would be calling to get closed before they went on tour. And the first time I ever dealt with Peter Frampton was on the telephone. He was getting closed to go out on the David Bowie tour. He played on one of Bowie's tours. Frampton played guitar. And
Really?
Yeah, he called us to get clothes to wear on the Bowie tour. And we had to send Peter Frampton some clothes and stuff. And that was the first time I just got to speak to him on the phone then. I never met him. The first time I ever met Peter Frampton, when Animal Bag was recording the first album, the first one we did. We recorded it. It was actually recorded on a mobile truck called La Mobile, which is still out there, still recording shows. La Mobile recorded Dylan and the Dead. It recorded Exit Stage Left for Rush. It's recorded some incredible albums. Guy Charbonneau is the guy that owns it. And so we had this incredible mobile truck, and we recorded at where his home base was. He had this place, I think it was in Burbank, where it was like a building, with a gated parking lot, where he would pull that truck around and pull it in to a big old bay. And then he had isolation rooms built in there where he could, when the truck was pulled in, they could just hook up to these rooms. And he had a recording studio, and just the control room was the truck, the mobile truck. Had a Neve board in it and all this stuff, just real technically advanced, So anyway, there was some other space in this building that La Mobile had that they rented out as rehearsal studios, like lockout rehearsal studios. One of the people that had a lockout there was Peter Frampton. And he would keep a bunch of gear there, and he would come rehearse before tours and stuff like that, and write there and do all kinds of stuff, So we had recorded all the basic tracks for the first album, and we were on to doing overdubs. Well, there's a song on that album called Last One that I wanted a Hammond B3. I wanted it to sound like Deep Purple,
Right, yeah.
We didn't have one there at the studio, and nobody's going to rent us a B3 and bring it over there. So, but Guy, the guy that owned the mobile truck, did have an old drawbar organ there, similar to what a Hammond is. And so we're trying to think, okay, well, how can we get that B3 sound out of this organ? And I was like, I just don't know a lot about these things. I've never played one, And so he's a French Canadian guy, and he has a real heavy French Canadian accent. He says, "Oh, we will talk to Peter. He will be here in a little while. We will talk to Peter. He knows all about these things, So I said, cool, So sure enough, later on, that day, here comes Peter Frampton. Now, this is not Frampton Comes Alive, Peter Frampton. This is, late 80s, early 90s, receding hairline, Peter Frampton, kind of almost the Frampton mullet he had for a little while,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so this is the Peter Frampton we're talking about, not, comes alive, recognizable Peter Frampton. So anyway, so Peter Frampton comes in, Guy tells him what we're wanting to do. And so Peter Frampton comes and sits down on this piano bench right next to me and starts explaining drawbar organs to me and everything and showing me how to get these sounds. He's just the coolest guy in the world, man. We just sat there on this stool, with this organ, and he would show me how to do things and stuff, get me as close to the sound as he could, And so he sat there and worked with me for 30 minutes, showing me all about this, organ. And so anyway, we got done. We're standing around talking. It's me and Guy and Peter Frampton standing here talking, before Frampton leaves. And so we're doing overdubs at this point. So, all the basic tracks, all the bass, all the drums, all that kind of stuff is done. So Boo and Otis, Boo was the drummer. Otis is the bass player. They've been like in the lounge here at the studio, just like hanging out, like drinking beer all day, because, they're done with their parts, so they don't have to do anything but just hang out at the studio. It's late afternoon. I'm standing out here with Guy and Peter Frampton, kind of saying goodbye. Well, here comes Otis out of the lounge. He hasn't been around for any of this. He and Boo have been in the lounge, just watching TV or watching videos or something and drinking beer. So Otis comes out, and I don't know, Otis is several beers into it, He comes out, comes walking up to us. And by this point, we're shaking hands and saying goodbye, And so I'm, like talking to Peter Frampton, and I'm going, well, thank you so much, for your help, It's great to meet you, man. I was like, I really appreciate, what you showed me. And he's like, oh, no problem, And, so Otis just kind of standing there with us, at this point. And Otis goes, yeah, man, thanks a lot, man, and shakes his hand. He said, and Peter's like, oh, no problem, And so he's getting ready to leave. And so Otis goes, yeah, what was your name, man? And you could tell Peter Frampton got the biggest kick out of it because he looked at him and he went, Peter Frampton. And he just turned around and walked out. And Otis is just standing there and he goes, no.
I bet that was a kick there, man.
It hadn't even connected to him because, like I said, this is early 90s Peter Frampton. Doesn't look like Frampton Comes Alive Frampton at all. And Otis just kind of walked into the conversation at the end, and he's just like, what was your name, man? But it was a great Peter Frampton story. He was a really cool guy. And, that was my one little brush was, I've sat on a piano stool with Peter Frampton before.
There you go. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.